Well, I'd met Harrison at OPA conventions. The Oklahoma City Chamber always had their Friday forum luncheon, and the press association members were the guests at that Friday forum luncheon. And two different times I got seated next to Walter Harrison during the thing. On one time he was managing editor of the Oklahoman, and the next time by the time we had another opportunity to sit together and visit for a few minutes, he was not only was not the managing editor of the Oklahoman, he owned the weekly in Britton, Oklahoma called the North Star, which he used to pepper EK and his son on frequent opportunities. Really an interesting man.
He worked as a newspaper boy in the town where he grew up. He was about 11 years old, and I think his dad wanted to keep him out of trouble. He studied electrical engineering in Ames, Iowa, and that was a bust. He didn't like it. I don't know what else drew him to journalism, to be honest, but he started at a young age, and he was a lifelong learner. He loved words. He had a prodigious vocabulary. A guest visitor who was supposed to be a dignitary at the occasion was an ambassador from Italy. And he had heard in an interview with the ambassador, he had heard the ambassador talking about the wonderful democracy in Italy. The quote that Suvich gave was calling Italy a high-speed democracy. My grandfather was the first speaker after that, and he stood up and said, for the past 16 years, Mussolini has operated a supreme dictatorship with a cabinet of stooges and a puppet king. If that is democracy, we want none of it. I'm also very proud of my grandfather for attempting to enroll in a Negro law school in Oklahoma City, and I think it was the 50s. He had to get the permission of the city council for some reason, and they asked him why he wanted to go to a black college. And he said, because I want to learn law and it's near my house.
Certainly in the early 20th century, I mean, we're talking about, I think he was there for 30 years, which in itself is very impressive. That I never held any one single job at the Oklahoman more than about maybe 10 years, if that. Probably 5 would be more accurate. So I was always skipping around. And Skipper, as they called him, he was there, and he was an important guy, not just at the newspaper, but also in the city. He did that for 30 years. He wrote a column. He wrote several columns. I found out he was inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame while he was still managing editor at the Oklahoman. So he was clearly wired in with the community and the leaders of that community, because you don't get to be in the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. I mean, you know, that's where Reba and Russell Westbrook and E.K. Gaylord, you know, those kind of folks. And he was the managing editor at the Oklahoman. So clearly he had a lot of influence, he had a lot of importance. And the fact that he was able to run that newsroom for 3 decades, to me, is wildly impressive.